Hello, everyone. For module 20, it says, give us some examples of relationships you built online via communication, via mobile communication. What type of ties were these? How might they have helped your psychosocial well-being? And when it came down to connecting this to the chapter and bringing about an example to the class to then have them relate and understand the chapter a little bit better, I thought of two key examples for me, and one was a positive experience and one was a negative experience. And we'll first break down the negative experience just because of timing. And with this example, I this was when I first got exposed to social media, and I immediately thought that I need to use social media to connect with my long distance relatives and also stay connected altogether with my close relatives and family, uh, and like friends and stuff. And while I thought that this was going to be a positive experience and positive thing for me, I eventually found myself kind of getting lost in social media and kind of disconnecting myself from the real world in the sense of avoiding interpersonal communication and in-person communication. And this can be described with the social displacement hypothesis, which talks about how the time spent online hinders your chance to meet people in the real world. And while obviously I was using social media with the intent to connect with the family and friends that I wasn't able to see on a daily basis, I eventually shifted away from kind of having all of these strong ties and all these close relative ties to then making them more on the sense weak ties. To kind of explain that a little bit more, I wasn't really using social media to kind of like connect with all my family and friends like I intended to then kind of separate myself from the real world and eliminate all chances for me to use the social media to actually communicate with my family and friends via social media. And the second example is that it's actually a positive one. And for me, this example kind of applied to social information processing theory and also social augmentation. So to kind of break down the example, I committed to Long Beach State for volleyball my sophomore year of high school. And right when I did it, I had a lot of positive thoughts, a lot of positive feelings, a lot of confidence. And then as I kind of went through my junior year and then going through my senior year, I was developing a lot of nerves, anxiety, anxiousness with the idea of going to play at a Division I school, going in a different environment, being on my own. And this kind of made me really uncertain and instilled a lot of fear on me. I was still excited to go. I was loving the idea of going to college, but I was terrified. And one thing that allowed me to kind of alleviate all that was my teammates that were in college at that time actually reached out to me via social media and kind of started to connect with me a little bit on a kind of interpersonal level rather than just some guy that plays volleyball that's going to come here. And this allowed for me to kind of alleviate all of those negative feelings that I was have about coming, or a lot of like doubtful feelings I had about coming to Long Beach. And this applied to the social information processing theory because this theory talks about people use available cues online to form intimate relationships that rival face-to-face relationships. So in other words, I wasn't able to see my teammates in person just because of me living back home, and they would live all the way up in Long Beach. So instead of just waiting until I was able to meet with them face-to-face, they ended up using the available cues online, such as direct messaging, contacting me, following me, and using all these available resources online to then create a more intimate relationship. Because in the beginning, there was a lot of weak ties in the sense of I didn't know them. I knew nothing about them. I just knew that they played volleyball. And then it kind of developed into this strong, well-developed ties that I considered to not only just be my teammate or a friend, but more so as a family member, because of the intimate relationship the intimate relationship foundation that was set on social media to then create a more intimate relationship in person. And another hypothesis that this can relate to was the social augmentation hypothesis, which talked about how when doing a test, they were saying how connecting with family and friends decreased depression over time. And also that we use social media to meet people and add to our real world experience. And the first one kind of talked about how it decreased depression over time. And for me, this decreased a lot of negative feelings that I have. Wasn't so much depression, but it was more so using this allowed for me to alleviate a lot of negative feelings that I was having. And to kind of piggyback off of the social augmentation hypothesis, and it talked about how we use that to then apply to the people that we meet in the real world. This allowed for me to kind of use the information that I've received from social media and also kind of add that to the real world experience of meeting this person, instead of just kind of having this blind interaction with someone and then having to then meet them and kind of create all of those all of that energy and the vibe, like in the beginning, to making it kind of a little bit more weird in the sense of first meeting them. This allowed for me to kind of meet them on social media, learn about them, connect with them, and then eventually get to meet them in person, to have that interaction kind of start up a lot faster than it would if I would just meet them for the first time. So thank you guys.